Well, everyone, welcome to World at War Comics. I'm very excited to have two amazing guests, Miss Amber Akin and Jimmy Gaspero. How are you both doing? And thank you for joining me.
I'm doing well. Thank you for having us, Tommy. I appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, happy to be here.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I appreciate you coming on a little early. We were able to talk a little bit. Thank you for sending me a preview of it. It is a really fun title. Amber, your art is really, really good. So congratulations on that. A little different. We were just talking a little different from the titles that I normally do. I think we had The Curse of Shirley Johnson not too long ago. That is definitely not a Papercutz title. But this is a nice change of pace, and yeah, I can't wait to dig in and kind of find out more. So let's do it. As far as the title, can we talk a little bit of how this title came to be and how you two came together to produce it?
Sure. I'll start only because I feel like the title is my fault.
I have a feeling.
I have two daughters, Charlotte and Penny, and so there is a real life Penny. And if I had planned this better, it would probably be a different book and have a different title. It was only because the very start of this idea was from a story idea that my Penny and I kind of came up with, and I wanted to show Penny how comics were made. And so we did a little 4-page story, like a little story that I scripted to 4 pages. And I had reached out to an artist that I had worked with before, Beck Kubrick, who I thought Beck's phenomenal. I thought Beck's style's great. Beck wasn't available, but gave me the names of, I think, 2 or 3 other artists. And as soon as I saw Amber's, I was like, oh my gosh, I hope she's available because like the portfolio that I saw was very, very cute, very whimsical, very much what I thought would fit the tone of this. And that 4-page short started like 4 years ago. And then eventually I wanted to try and pitch something. Mad Cave had open submissions, and I thought the only art I really had was Amber's, 4 pages that she drew, lettered, and colored for this 4-page short that we called Yeti and the Big Stomp, about Yeti and Penny. And I came up with a story idea, and I really was just kind of forcing myself to take a step forward, right? I had submitted as a writer to anthologies, but I had never pitched like a long form something to a publisher. I'd never like written something this long. So I did an outline. I sent it to him. I sent Amber's art. I checked with Amber. She was okay with it. Yeah. And lo and behold, now that was 2 years ago. So now fast forward 2 years and we are on the cusp of Penny and the Yeti, out in the world. So yeah, it's kind of remarkable how it all happened, but that's kind of the origin story for our team.
Yeah.
Were you kind of surprised, Amber, by the call?
When I first saw Jimmy's email in my inbox and he explained like, oh, it's a story I wrote with my daughter. I hadn't drawn comics in a while. I was pretty burnt out. But it was so exactly my jam and cup of tea. And I was so excited to draw a cute Yeti. That when Jimmy emailed me again and was like, hypothetically, like, would you want to draw a whole book? And I was like, yes, sign me up, please. That would be awesome. And I got to do it, which is even crazier.
I feel like your art is perfect for this story as well. Obviously being for younger children, but just in general, you do have a very unique style that I think works so perfectly for this. As I was just going through the pages, I thought it was absolutely beautifully drawn. And then the story is very touching too. And my assumption is a lot of people could relate to something like this from a parent standpoint who have gone through those type of things. But not only that, a child that might be going through that and maybe not know anybody else who's going through it at the same time. So I thought it was very timely, but yeah, very well put together. You said you started the idea, Jimmy, 2 years ago. Once Amber came on, how long was the process be? Because it's a pretty long title, right? How many pages was it?
It's about like 116, 118 pages of story.
Mm-hmm.
I think the book is, I think the whole book once printed is a little longer because there's a couple of like art prints and things along those lines. But yeah, the original 4-page short was 4 years ago, so that was like the summer of 2022. And I think after I scripted it and found Amber, it was probably early 2023 that we had the 4 pages done. I'd say. But it was the beginning of 2024 when I pitched it. So Amber was already involved. I had pitched it to Papercutz saying, here's the outline, here's the 4 pages of art. We were a team. I told Amber very early on, I'm like, this is not, I'm the writer, you're like, quote unquote, just the artist. Like, I did not, as soon as I knew that if this book was going to work because of the idea that I had kind of come up with for the larger story, it could have gotten a lot darker very quickly. It was only going to work in terms of what I thought we wanted to do is with Amber's art. There wasn't anybody else that it would have made sense doing it with. It wouldn't have looked as good. And so, it was like early 2024. And then, like after it was all like after we were all ready to go, they were like, "Oh, you can send us like the script," and I'm like, "What? I gotta write that." I did not think this was going to happen. Apologies. So I asked our editor at the time from Papercutz. I was like, "Give me 3 months." I said, I think it was, it might have been like April or May of 2024. I said, give me 3 months and I'll get you the first draft, the full script, all 114 or 16 pages. So that would have taken me to like the end of July was the deadline I gave myself. I think I sent Amber and the editor at the time, Stephanie, the full script on August 2nd. So I was 2 days short, but then it was the editing process just to get parts of the script locked and like then let Amber just kind of do her thing,
Well, Amber, having kind of a comic experience and then doing something like this, which is, I guess, similar, I think on average, 4 panels probably per page, some less, if I'm not mistaken. I was like kind of going through that, which is harder to do. Because there's a lot more detail in here, especially the background of Penny's room and the toys on the ground and the closet and all that good stuff. Is one harder than the other? Or is it very similar in your process?
I don't know. I think it's kind of similar. I honestly really have a lot of fun drawing detailed backgrounds. I love throwing like Easter eggs in there. Even Easter eggs that they're just for me. Like no one will ever like know that there's a stuffed animal in Penny's room that looks like one I had when I was a kid. So I don't know. I think it's kind of equal.
Yeah, that's awesome. And then just to get into kind of the background, the story, Jimmy, if you could give us kind of an elevator pitch of what, people could, get out of this title. And then I would love the background. Is this like a personal experience? Is this an experience of someone you know? I think that would kind of bring a little bit of weight to it as well.
Sure. So the story is about a family. It's Fenton and Maxine are the parents, and they have 2 daughters. So it's a very similar dynamic to me. And Peri is the oldest daughter, and Penny is the youngest. And I tried to paint them. I tried to write them, and Amber definitely drew them. I think is like a kind of a very typical. I wanted them to be relatable in terms of the family. Maxine is a party planner. And I can't remember right now what we said Fenton does for his job.
I think it was pretty unspecific, actually.
Yeah. I don't think I remember anything.
I don't know if we said what Fenton does, but in any event, the main thing that we find out in terms of in terms of the 2 kids, Penny has a big imagination, and she's the kind of kid that like wears her heart on her sleeve. Her older sister can be nice to her, can be annoyed by her, can be a little checked out by what's going on with the parents. And in terms of the parents, they're not, there's like not one thing that you can point to that is a major issue, but they argue a lot. And it's something that really bothers Penny, and she can't really talk about how much it bothers her. She doesn't really understand the parental relationship. She just wants everyone to get along. And there's just a lot of little things that build up between these two parents, between Fenton and Maxine, whether or not they're just tired, they're frustrated. It seems that they've been together for a while, and there's always a sense of conflict and tension. And I mean, that's really what it's about. It's not about one thing that the parents did. It's about what a lot of the book, and Amber does a beautiful job of this in terms of the paneling. It's a lot from Penny's perspective as the 6 or 7-year-old kid, and what it's like growing up and living in a house where there's that constant sense of tension, and you don't really know how to talk about it, and you don't really know what you can do about it. And then during one particular argument, a drawing that her sister Peri gave her that she really liked, because Peri likes cryptids, a drawing of a Yeti kind of comes to life, walks right off the page and into Penny's life. And, you know, the story is that Penny thinks the Yeti is there to try and fix mom and dad, get mom and dad happy. And of course, you know, not to spoil anything, but this isn't a book where the kids have to parent the parents. It's not a book where the kids are in any way responsible for the parents' relationship. It's really about kind of kindness, I think, and empathy, especially in the friendship and relationship between Penny and Yeti. And it's also Yeti kind of helps Penny find a little bit of finding like her voice about talking about what's going on. But really in a surprising way, Yeti also helps the older sister Peri kind of step up a little bit for her younger sister. And the family, I feel like, and I've gotten some feedback, feels very realistic, and that was intentional. I felt the more realistic the family felt, the more, if adults were reading it with their kids, they were like, oh, I've definitely gotten into this argument before. Yeah. Then the more it would work when we have the big imagination, fun elements with Penny and Yeti going on their big imagination adventures. So that's it.
I love it. And is it based off of your personal experience? Is it based off of someone else, or is it just a story you created because you knew there was a need?
I mean, there's definitely things in it where I drew on. So, I mean, I've been with my wife. We'll be married in November, 18 years. We've been together for 23. So I met her the summer after my first year of law school. So I was like 23. She was 21. We've been together a long time. There are some things that I did put in there in terms of that Fenton does that I know cause conflict. Yeah. I too am always accused of being in the way in the kitchen, no matter where I stand, and it is unintentional. I try to be mindful of it. I try to learn. So there are things, like that I relied on, and also, I have friends of mine that are in all different stages of life. I have friends that are single, friends that are in long-term relationships and not married. I have friends that are married. I have friends that have been divorced. I have friends that are currently separated. And we talk about those things. We talk about our lives. We talk about our relationships. And so there are things like that in there. And I think there's a lot of material about, and some of it done exceptionally well, about kids dealing with the aftermath of a divorce, or kids in, where they have parents in different households and having to deal with co-parenting. But I wanted to do something a little different. I wanted to leave it kind of, you don't know exactly what's going to happen with this family. It's not all, it's not really all wrapped up in a neat little bow at the end, but it's clear that there's work to be done, and at least the problem has been voiced. So it's a mix of both. I saw a need for it, and also there's definitely some things in there that from my personal life.
For sure. I think anybody who's in any kind of a relationship could relate to a lot of that, I would think, especially if you're living with that person. How about you, Amber? Anything in this story kind of touch you in a personal way?
I mean, I myself am an ex-child, so I, observing the world. I work with kids. I definitely see a need for this sort of story just to, I mean, even open up the potential for like a conversation between like a parent and an adult about like, their feelings, having a lot of empathy, and kids getting who maybe can't relate, having like a little insight into like how other kids like their families at home.
I love it. When you talked, Jimmy, about that relationship between the two sisters and how they reacted to the situation within the home between the parents, I felt that was really touching too, because I think there is a big difference in how children react to that kind of a situation depending on age and maturity. And I thought that played out really well. I think the older you are, I think maybe the more understanding you have. You're still lacking a lot of understanding, but you certainly understand the tension is more real, and maybe you could define it a little bit the older you are. And when you're younger, you might sense the tension and it certainly bothers you, but maybe you don't have the ability to express what that means. You just know something's off, maybe. I don't know. But I felt like you played those two really well throughout the story, because I think there'd be a big difference between those two girls and how they would see things that were going on. I'm sure that was intentional, but it really came through.
Oh, well, thank you. It was intentional. I mean, the editors that we had on this book, Stephanie Brooks and Teddy Leo, both editors at Papercutz, like we were all, I think, Amber as well, like we were all very mindful of that. Like we all set out when we're like, well, we're going to tell this type of story. And we were very careful where, all right, we don't want it to say like the kids solve everything. And we don't want it to, we also didn't want to say that there was like a right answer. Like, I don't want a kid reading the book who thinks that, oh, well, my parents ended up getting divorced. Like, what's the problem there? Or, or think that we're trying to say that there's like a right way, or that there is like an answer. Like, it's really about a situation that happens in terms of tension and conflict and stress and arguing in a home, and how a kid can kind of like navigate that, or have, not have some voice to kind of speak up. But also I think the book is, even if that's not your situation and you're like, well, my kid wouldn't get anything out of this, there's also just a ton of fun. Like,
there is.
when Yeti shows up, like Penny and Yeti have like a lot of really fun adventures. Like, they go to the library,
Sure.
They have a big imagination where they turn the backyard into like, they're kind of like Yeti cave, snow fort. Like there's plenty of fun and hijinks. They play the floor. My floor is lava. So,
Yeah.
There's a lot.
All the games we played when we were little.
Yeah. And the kids still play.
Yeah.
I
love it. And then, Amber, on your side, was there a favorite character? Was it Yeti? Was it Penny? Who was it that you really enjoyed drawing?
Oh, it has to be Yeti. He is so fun to draw. And, after drawing, I think I probably drew him maybe 500 times over the course of the book. It's like, if I'm sitting and idling, like I'll just doodle a Yeti in the corner of my paper, because it's like fully muscle memory at this point. And then Peri was also a lot of fun to draw. Her little like pigtails were really is like the cherry on top of her design. I always look forward to drawing the little pigtails on.
I think Penny called them naughties or something like that at one point in the book, if I'm not mistaken. The pigtails, like my hair, I can't remember what it was, but she said my hair doesn't do naughties like that or something like that. Where I love it. Jimmy, could it ever have been anything else than a Yeti?
Well, because it could have been. I'm sure it could have been, but no, it had to be, only because. I mean, I've been doing stuff with Comic Book Yeti now for 5 years, and that was, my kids know that I do stuff with Comic Book Yeti. Like, they know that they hear me, they see me come down in the basement and they're like, where are you going? I'm like, I have a podcast tonight. And they have a couple of different Comic Book Yeti t-shirts. So they They know about it. And Penny said, like, when she said, are you going to write a story? And I'm like, yeah, I'll write a story. Let's write a story. What do you want to write a story about? And then she said it should be about a Yeti. And I was like, well, of course. And then I said, well, Penny's got to be in it. And then, and now we're here. And now Amber and I are doing the press tour for the book, and I have to field a lot of questions like, what's your home life like?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I hope you realized that was going to be one of the questions when you write a title like this, right?
I fully expected it, and I've tried to be prepared, but I'm really proud of the work everybody has done on this book. This story means a lot to me, and it's just been amazing working with Papercutz, and I mean working with Amber. I mean, I'm absolutely spoiled. Yeah. I mean, because like if there's writers, watching this, and sometimes we'll see on social media like the comic book writers versus artists discourse pops up or whatever that is. I try and stay away from the fray whenever those things happen. But like, it's real easy to say, all right, Penny and Yeti go to the library with Maxine, with the mom, and it's going to be a 2-page spread, almost like a DeLuca effect of them walking around the library. Okay? How long did that just take me to say? The counter says 6 seconds. Well, how long did that take Amber to draw and color?
Yeah.
A little longer.
More than 8 seconds or so.
I will say it's one of my favorite parts of the book when they go to the library.
Yeah.
Mine too.
Yeah. And then on your side, Amber, as far as your process, can you kind of walk through like how long does a page like this take you to do? Because there is a lot of detail in the background. Some of the pages, there's a tremendous amount of background.
Oh, gee. I guess it does depend page to page.
Yeah.
I think that double page spread of the library definitely is like, that one was like top for how long it took. And then like some other pages probably from thumbnail to final colors, I think minimum like 6 hours for like an easy page. And then I didn't even time myself for that double page spread. I was like, I just got to get this done. It was so much fun and so rewarding to do it, since it's one of my favorites from the book.
Yeah.
God, I think even just like the pencils for that took me like a solid like 4 hours, maybe 5.
Really? I would have thought it took longer because there's so much detail. So I think that's pretty impressive, to be honest.
I might have just fully blacked out when drawing that one.
Like 3 days later, you snapped out of it and it was done. And then my understanding is you obviously do the penciling, the inking, the coloring. You do the lettering too?
No, that was a buddy who did the lettering for us.
Yeah, Amber had lettered the original 4-page short that was Yeti and the Big Stomp, most of which is actually in the book itself, because Penny and Yeti do go to a diner. Amber had lettered that, and then when we were working on the book, I was like, would you be okay? I don't know. I think I might have brought it up. I'm not sure. Like, would you be okay if we like see if we could get hire a letterer? Is that like, I didn't want to offend Amber if she really wanted to like do everything. And Amber was like, oh gosh, no, please.
Might have been the quickest yes ever. I don't know.
When you asked, I was like, oh, thank God. Because lettering is like, it is not easy for me. It takes so much. Somehow it's so much more difficult than drawing for whatever reason.
Buddy Beaudoin lettered, and I've worked with Buddy before on a couple of shorts, and Buddy is a writer as well, and just a phenomenal letterer. And when I saw his design for the letters and what he was thinking about doing for like Yeti's lettering in particular, he just does a phenomenal job. And especially, there's a couple of pages in particular where, when the tension starts to rise between the parents, Amber like strips out the background. So it's just the color and Fenton and Maxine, and Buddy doesn't do like the speech bubbles. he'll kind of strip out the background of the bubble as well and just have the lettering, and like that like combined effect. And that wasn't like ever a discussion. It wasn't anything in the script. It was just Buddy knowing that, we're really focusing on the argument. We're ramping up the tension here and doing little things like that.
Yeah.
Some people may not notice it, but it really, I think, helps propel the story forward, helps to tell what's going on in terms of the emotion or the tone or the tension, and just does a phenomenal job.
Yeah. Can you both kind of talk about the importance of that collaboration? I know as a comic book reader, I don't do reviews because I don't like to do like a lot of negative stuff. Obviously, there's titles that I read, I'm like, not for me. But it could be for someone else. It's just not for me. So I just keep it to myself. That's not my thing. But you could tell when you're reading a comic book, and it could be a bunch of different reasons, not necessarily they didn't get along or anything, maybe communication, who knows, but you could tell in the flow that maybe the art and the bubbles are not matching sometimes, not fully. I don't know if you've ever experienced that reading a comic book and you're like, something seems a little off on this one and it's not for me. But when you do have that kind of partnership where there's great collaboration and there's a lot of excitement on both sides, it really comes through in a comic book. Like you could see almost the excitement of the artist on the story and trying to bring that side of the story to life. And then obviously the writer seeing that story come to life. Like there must have been a lot of great communication. Can you talk about how important that is when you're trying to tell a story?
Amber, do you want to start? Or
Sure. I will say, Jimmy's scripts made it so easy for me to do my job. Just like the perfect level of like direction and also freedom for me as like the artist, put my own little like pizzazz and flair into the story. Jimmy left some like great, like, I guess I'll call it like director's commentary, where there would be notes in the script that were like, you can do this, but like only if like you think it'll work, or like here's an idea I have, but like no pressure. Which it was funny because they were always like excellent ideas, and I was like, yeah, of course I'm gonna do that. That was great. But yeah, just having that like open communication, and Jimmy's also like my number one cheerleader, so it was always great like handing in like thumbnails or pencils and like having Jimmy be like, "This is awesome."
I will say in terms of writing, and I mean, I only started to try and write comic books, 6 years ago. I had this idea because I got back into reading comics maybe 13 years ago and really loved reading comics. I mean, I read novels too. I read a bunch of stuff, but I really liked comics. I found a community, online, and really liked tweeting and being on Blue Sky now and talking about comics. And I thought, man, maybe I can write one of these. Maybe I could write a short one, or I like telling stories. I need a hobby and I don't golf. I'm 40 years old, So, and when I first started to write a script, and I got books about how to write a script, and I looked at how other writers formatted their scripts in like trade paperback back matter, I was so precious with trying to do the format right. I didn't want anybody to say, I don't know if it was like imposter syndrome or just feeling like maybe I didn't belong because I'm starting so late. I didn't want anybody to say, this isn't how it's done. This isn't this, and I tried to be too careful with it. And, then when I had to write, something as long as Penny and the Yeti, and I wanted it to be as good as possible. And I wanted Amber to feel that she had as much ownership over these characters in this story, as I did. I was just, the best way to do that is just to be as open and honest as possible, and just say, all right, page 1, panel 3. I think, so this is going to happen. This person's here. This person's there. This is the action. I was thinking that maybe we could do something like this, or what if we had this? Just put it in the script. Put it like, don't be precious about it. Don't feel like somebody's going to tell you don't know what you're doing. Just put it down in there. So whether my director commentary came from a sense of, I wanted to make the story as best as the absolute best it could be. And I don't want Amber to feel like there's stuff she doesn't want to draw. I want her to be comfortable saying that, hey, whatever you're describing in this panel here doesn't work. like, and that was the easiest way to do it. We just had a shared Google Doc and we went back and forth, and I think it worked out. So.
Yeah, I think so. Would you be okay? I know you sent me the PDF of it. We don't want to give anything away, but maybe just show the first couple pages. That way people could kind of see Amber's amazing art, and then maybe we could talk a little bit about it. Are you okay with that?
Yeah. I think that'll be fine.
Yeah. I certainly don't want to show too much, but bear with me real quick as I try to pull it up. Of course, I am old, so this always takes a little bit longer than it should.
It's all right. We're hanging in there. We're happy to look at some of the pages and
it'll be good
and talk about it. Absolutely.
Here. All right, here we go. Coming right now. All right, everyone can see my screen real quick. So here is the cover right here of the title, Penny and the Yeti. There is Penny and the Yeti. Can you kind of talk about, like, how did the design of Penny come to be? I mean, is your Penny look similar to that with the same style of hair, or did you just choose something completely different?
No, it's pretty much Penny.
Yeah, that's
pretty much my Penny. Like, once we did when you do a 4-page short and that's the art, like, because it was her and a Yeti in the story. Yeah. I didn't anticipate that we were going to do a whole graphic novel. And so, we couldn't change the character at that point. I don't think we would have wanted to. It just seemed to, like, make sense. But yeah,
sure.
Yeah, that's Penny. I don't. So yeah, that's where that design came from. But Yeti was all Amber.
Was it? Yeah, that's your Yeti then, Amber, huh? Your style of Yeti. How did you come up with that?
At first, I was like a little intimidated trying to like come up with a Yeti design that didn't just like look very generic or like too scary, because we want a Yeti to be like never scary, more like friend-shaped and soft. So I took a lot of visual inspiration from Sully from Monsters, Inc., which was like kind of like fits the bill, like a monster who takes care of a little girl. And also I was obsessed with Sully when I was a little kid. So I kind of took that and ran with it with Pinterest searches of like cute Yeti design.
I love it. So let's get into some of the panels. Just so you can kind of see a lot of great pictures too. There's the team right there of everybody that we were just talking about. And then here we go. So this is the kind of the panel layout that you could experience throughout the entire title. And I just love how the panel is. And I love the around the panel, the border that you put on all of them too. I feel like they're all on one page, but in the visual of having the border sounds silly, but in like comic books, you don't normally have like a border like that. But I love the border. I feel like it's a lot easier to read. And I think for the style of book that you're writing, it just worked out great. I don't know whose idea was it to make sure that everything had a border.
I guess that would be me.
I think it was Amber's. It wasn't mine. I can't take credit for it. But it does work. Because especially when you have those panels that kind of like peels the border away, they really stand out. And so
I love it.
I liked it too. Yes, we, looking at it, I think we were both of us, both Amber and I think we're very intentional in terms of how we were laying out this first section, because it was very important to introduce everybody to the family first. So the first character we meet is Penny, to let the reader know, like, you're going to see this situation really through her eyes. And then, then we meet mom and dad. And as we go through, you'll see that Penny gets her moment with everybody, and then we, and like one-on-one time to introduce the characters. And then I think the first time all four are together is a few pages in at the dinner table. Yeah.
Again, right away into the story, you could see that she has an amazing ability to create worlds around her. Like I think most children at that stage, right? They start to act out things that they see in their daily life. And I love that. Very relatable. And then right away, we start to see the parents here. Just really good. I feel like something animated like this would be a lot of fun too. I know that's super expensive and crazy, but I feel like this would work so well.
I'm definitely influenced by a lot of cartoons that I watched religiously as a kid and a tween.
Sure, absolutely. I'm at an age, I have 4 adult children, so they're all older, and now I have grandkids. So now I feel like I'm kind of starting over a little bit. Obviously, not the same, but very relatable having the grandkids here all the time, 1 and 2 years old. So as they develop, I feel like I'm experiencing a lot of things I did with my children all over again, which is a lot of fun. A lot of things I missed, I'm getting back again, which is cool.
Oh, that is cool.
Yeah.
But you get to my parents, who are grandparents, they but their grandkids are older because they're older than you, Tommy. But they say the nice thing is though that they get to give them back.
100%. No doubt about that. No doubt. I'm not changing diapers. I'm not doing any of that stuff. I did my time. But nothing like a grandchild, though. I will tell you. I mean, love being a parent. I thought it was amazing. I almost feel like being a grandparent is even better. It's just something about the love that they have for you, maybe because they don't see you all the time, but they're just excited to see me for no reason, and I love that.
Yeah, my parents are they're going to be 70 at the end of this year, and so I have a younger brother and a younger sister, and between the 3 of us, they have 9 grandkids.
Oh wow!
And I say about my dad all the time that like he was meant to be a father, but he was destined to be a grandfather. He excels in that role in a way that is, quite frankly, sometimes like remembering how I was raised, shocking.
Yeah. Oh, my dad was a Marine, so it was not hugs and kisses all the time, man. And then today we call him a wuss. I mean, he's so soft. Like, where did that hardened Marine go that would just pull your belt off anytime you did something wrong? And now you could walk all over him. He's such a teddy bear about everything. And I do think maybe the stress is like the stress level of being a grandparent is completely different than a father, or even a mother, right? I would think just because, as you know, having a family, there is a lot of stress that takes place, making sure things get paid. You're able to do things with your children. As a grandparent, and especially when your kids are older, it's so different because I think you're a little bit more established in life. Obviously, you're not paying for absolutely everything like you used to. So there's a little bit ease there. I mean, there's probably a bazillion reasons, but I think I could relate a little bit to that, Jimmy. I feel like hopefully I'll be a good grandfather. Hopefully I was a good dad, but I'm sure I'll be a much better grandfather than I was a dad for sure. How about you, Amber? Do you have children?
It's just me and my houseplants.
Nice. I love it. I love it. I love it. Well, you'll experience all this, I'm sure, one day. That's pretty cool, though. I mean, it's absolutely beautiful. The colors, too.
Yeah, when like Amber started sending in some of these for like the color palette. And again, because there's some heavier moments in the story with the stress and the fighting with the parents, it just... Yeah. It works because of how bright, and vibrant it is. But especially when Yeti shows up and they start, like, there's a couple of pages where like Penny and Yeti kind of have their plan. They plan like their Ocean's 11 style heist, and it's just like a there's no panel borders. It's just like all on the page, and I saw stuff like that, and I was just like, what did I do to deserve this? Yeah. Truly, because it was a feeling where I was like, I want to do this. This is what I want to do for the rest of my life. I just want to tell stories, and I want to get art in my inbox that looks like this, I
mean, as a writer who has a story, and I am sure as you're writing, you're visualizing what everything would look like if it ever came to life. And then to work with an Amber, delivering you things, making them all come to life. I mean, what's that feeling like, Jimmy?
No, it's so tough to describe, but it is like, I mean, I'm an attorney, and I have some good days at work stressful, as it is for everybody's job stressful, I think. And I have some days that are really tough, and I do have some good days, like when I can deliver a great result for a client and the client's happy, and it makes me feel good. Makes me grateful that I went to law school, grateful that I'm an attorney, grateful that I can help somebody out. But that still pales in comparison to the feeling of like when I was, 10 years old in 1989, and all I wanted was a computer, and I didn't think there was any way my parents could afford it. And I came down Christmas morning, and they somehow managed to get like an Apple IIc or IIe. That's what it feels like when there's something in my head, and I'm not great with like spatial relations when I have to put things away. So visualizing things, I sometimes have difficulty like just getting it on the page, like to make sure everything will fit and where exactly it'll go. And like Amber taking that and putting it into the panel in a way that makes sense, not only to have all the stuff in there that we need, but makes sense narratively and looks good visually, and seeing it and being like, well, that's an idea that I had, and this is what we have now to like look at, and just seeing how beautiful it is. It's the closest thing that I found, other than good times with like my children, other than like dad stuff. Yeah. It's the closest thing I found to that feeling of being 10 and coming down those stairs and seeing that computer.
I think that is a great visual that everyone can relate to. Can you kind of talk a little bit, Amber, about your coloring style for this title? Because it is very bright, and I feel like it really enhances the story. And as you know, Amber, I mean, obviously art is extremely important in telling a story within comic books, but I don't think colorists get the love that they probably should, because it's an art in and of itself. And if the colors are wrong, it can throw the whole vibe of what you're trying to portray. Can you kind of walk through your process of, choosing colors for something like this?
Yeah, I definitely agree that colorists should get their flowers, because you guys do some bananas work, and it can really make or break, I guess, the overall look of a story, depending on who's coloring it and how. So I wouldn't have identified myself as a colorist before doing Penny and the Yeti, but I really toiled over these colors with like the Photoshop like toolbox open, adjusting the hue by like 1 point at a time to get it to be like the perfect level of like harmonious and not too saturated, but just saturated enough to like hold the child's attention for 116 pages. So I'm so glad and grateful that all of the hard work I put into choosing color palettes is like being seen and appreciated. It's truly, similarly to like Kid on Christmas Morning, it is such a total high to deliver artwork to someone who has described their idea to you and then feel like you've done it justice, and make people excited about what you've drawn. I work with kids, and every time a student is like, Miss Akin, can you draw me a cat? And I'll be like, here, I'll like doodle you a cat. And they're like, this is the most amazing thing I've ever seen. You should draw professionally. I'm like, yeah, I should. It's just like, there's nothing like it. It's so fulfilling on just like a complete level.
I love it. Well, it certainly came through. Let's go over to Papercutz next. So I'll stop sharing, but let's go over to the actual website so we can kind of share where people could grab this. And I'm sure it's going to be available in a lot of different areas, but if you're not familiar with Papercutz, it is one of the publishers under the Mad Cave. So they have Nakama, which is a lot of the manga and some of the other styles of manga that exist, which is phenomenal. They're producing a lot of amazing stuff. Obviously, you have Mad Cave, which is more your traditional comic books. You have Maverick, which is your young adult titles, which there's a lot of fun stuff. And then you have Papercutz, which is more of your young children or children's titles. And we were kind of talking before we hit record that what Mad Cave is doing is just absolutely phenomenal, creating all these different segments of their organization that meets people wherever they're at with the things that they really enjoy. So if you love any of those things, which pretty much encompasses anything comic book related, Mad Cave is definitely the publisher for you. And then we come obviously to your title over on Papercutz. And I was trying to remember April 21st, it starts to go on sale, right? So pre-orders are available right now. And I put the link in the chat. It's also in the show notes. So if you're watching this after the live, you could go right there and hit the link and go over there and pick this up for your family. But what a fun read, man. I had a blast. The story is amazing. The art is incredible. I don't know what else to say, but it was a lot more fun than I was expecting when I got an email from you, Jimmy, talking about Penny and the Yeti. I'm like, what the hell is that? And I'm trying to look for comic books called Penny and the Yeti. I'm like, this is going to be a wild one, man. And then I found out it was Papercutz because you gave me the link. I'm like, oh, I don't know if I have the audience for this, but let's go and let's try it out. But this is so much fun. You two did a phenomenal job, and of course the rest of the team. But it's beautiful.
Thank you very much. Well, I mean, even all your fans that like Big Two Comics or Mad Cave or Spawn or whatever it might be, you know, they're going to be stuck one day this summer, go into with their own kids or a kid's friends or a nieces or nephew's birthday party, and they're like, what do we get this kid? And so get him a graphic novel. That's been my go-to for the past 15 years. And you know what? I've never had anybody be disappointed. So, you know.
Oh, it makes perfect sense. And just as a comic book fan and loving comic books for, 40 years, obviously I had a little break when we started having kids. You have to choose, I guess, food and groceries over comics, which is ridiculous. But I did make that sacrifice. Oh, my wife's not listening. I'll probably get thrown out after that. But knowing that not only is this an amazing title, but getting kids into graphic novels early on, so that way as they get older, hopefully we're kind of replacing some of the old guys like me in comic books down the road, because I feel like there's a natural transition from a title like this to a Maverick, to a Mad Cave, and or Nakama, whatever your liking is. But yeah, you're part of a team that's building the foundation for future comic book readers, we hope.
I mean, I hope so. I love comics, and I still read a ton of them, and I read all kinds. I've read comics with my kids since they were little, and as they've gotten older, my oldest Charlotte, she's gotten into some of the Maverick graphic novels, and she's moved on to manga, which is not an area I'm really familiar with, but that's what she found, that's what she liked. And she had a phase where she went through a ton of My Hero Academia, and there were a couple of others, and especially when she goes to our local library and there's 32 volumes, and she's like, I'm set for a little bit. So, but the thing is, she's reading, and she's enjoying herself. She's a normal kid. She still has her, or not, I would say normal, but an average kid she still has her screen time and certain things, but she reads a ton, and and it all started with I think by the time she was 3 years old, she had issues of Kelly Thompson wrote it. I'm going to forget the name of the artist. I feel terrible, but Mega Princess.
Oh yeah.
I mean, she had issues of Mega Princess memorized, and that's where it starts.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Well, I have the link, like I said, in the chat, obviously down below. I would encourage everyone to go over to Papercutz and check it out. $10 entry price is pretty cheap. And then obviously they have the paperback and the hardback. So whatever your liking is, I usually get hardbacks just because I feel like my grandkids will step on the book and do other things with it too. So if you want it to last a little longer, I have Brown Bear that's about to fall apart downstairs. But this title is great, and I'm so excited that we did this. I was a little nervous, but I had a blast, man. So I guess I'll let Mueller know, Trevor. Yeah, we could do it. It worked out well.
Well, I thank you, Tommy. I really appreciate this. It means a lot.
Yeah, it's been fantastic.
I'm glad. I hope you both felt comfortable during the interview. And yeah, this is a lot of fun. And I cannot wait to see this go live in April. And I wish you all both a lot of success. And if you ever need to come back on, you're always welcome. But I really appreciate your time.
Thank you very much
for having us.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, hang tight real quick. Everybody in the chat, thank you. Hey, Andrew. I know you probably don't have kids yet, but check out this title. It was a lot of fun. I think I know you have nieces and nephews, so go check this out. And birthdays, holidays, whatever. Easter's coming up. This would be great in a basket. So pick this up. It'll be a lot of fun, I think, for a lot of everybody. All right, everyone in the chat, thank you for hanging out. I really appreciate you all, and I hope you all have an amazing rest of your week. Talk soon.
You're still here? It's over. Go home. Go.